It's good to see everybody this fine day. Well, Deanna made it to England okay. But, yeah. You always like the story with that in it, don't you? The luggage didn't arrive. Well, the luggage is there now. Yay! But she got COVID on the plane. So now she's actually really able to do some studying now. So, but no, she's doing okay. She's pretty sick. She's getting better. This is day 3 out of 5. So I think she can come to the land of the living in day 5. But it has been a joy to be with you over these 7 weeks. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for allowing us just to be with you, to have some fun with you, to laugh with you, and somewhat feel like home. You know, hopefully, these last 7 weeks, it's probably like a vacation. You know, it feels real good to go away, but then it's always good to have to come back home. And so next week, what a joy it will be to have Pastor back in town, back in the saddle, and to be able to live life and to grow, and to really see what God has in store. What a gift that is that you guys have given Pastor to go on this sabbatical time to pray and to get away. And we all need a little bit of that. Time to get away. So I took the kids away last week. We went up to the Wisconsin Dells. Anybody ever been up there? Okay. I've never been there. I've heard of it. It was pretty fun. It's kind of like Branson without the shows. That's kind of how I thought of it. But we had a lot of times at amusement parks and water rides, and it was a good time getting away. Well, we had some storms. I don't know if you heard about that or not, but yeah, we had a tornado warning or watch or something like that came, but a massive thunderstorm came through, and so we had to go to the fire department and kind of hung out there for a little bit. Well, and our tent got soaked. Well, it was an adventure. So Josiah, our oldest, he slept in the minivan, and Hannah and I, we slept on the air mattress. Well, something about my daughter, she's not here, so I can talk about her. One of the things about Hannah, which I find just beautiful. One, she's a squirmer, but 2, in the middle of the night, she always brings her arm over and touches me, or her foot. Always want to know that I'm there. You know, I thought about that quite a bit. You know, it's how beautiful that is, that sometimes in our life, in our spiritual journeys, we just want to be touched by God. We just want to have that tangible touch that God is with us and that everything's going okay. I was just reminded of that this week. And the other thing I was reminded of this week is, as Josiah and I are trying to fold up this tent, and we're packed in there like sardines, we don't have enough room, and I don't know anything about this tent. They're all taking bets to see how angry I could get. So we're trying to fold it. I'm getting a little frustrated. Josiah says, Dad, I'm trying. Dad, I'm trying. What a reminder that is that we're trying. We don't have to have it all right. We don't have to have it all perfect, but we're trying. We're trying in this life. We're trying in our Christian walks. Well, maybe your dads were something like this. You know, back in the day, we didn't always have a cell phone. I know that's hard to believe. But we didn't always have a cell phone. In fact, back in the day, we used to have a phone that would ring in the house, and you would run to the phone and you'd try to pick it up. Well, one daughter kind of explained what her father would do all the time. When the phone would ring, he'd pick up the phone and he would say, Domino's. Domino's Pizza. Well, he had a lot of people hang up on him. You know, maybe your dad was a little like this. One recalls a story of her father who enjoyed birthday parties and always put the parties together. And I kind of like this little story because I got to do this for Hannah next week. She's got a birthday coming up. So the twins were all gathered, and they had twins, and there was no presents. The father had taken the presents, hid them away. And then he called on that phone again. He pranked him and said it was stolen. And then gave him a scavenger hunt where all their friends were at. Well, maybe your dad is a jokester. Maybe those puns that dads are known. So here's a joke for you. All right? What happens when a painter gets cold? I know you're thinking. I know you're thinking. They put on another coat. All right. I'm almost booed out of here, Jerry. I'm almost booed out of here. All right, one more for you. One more. Why do dads who golf always take an extra pair of socks? In case you get a hole in one. That's right. I still have not had a hole in one on the golf course. I'm still trying. But, we learn a lot from our dads, don't we? We learn how to love, how to nurture the brokenhearted. Maybe learn a little bit of empathy, work ethic. We strive for a better life. We also learn on the other sides of the coin. Maybe a little bit how to be critical, how to judge. We learn on both sides of the coins from our care providers. The good, the bad, and ugly. We learn it all. Some of us have incredible father stories that we could tell over and over again, and we would just feel so heartfelt and loved, and maybe that would be the greatest sermon ever. Some of us have those heart-wrenching stories of our Father that would cause us to continue to cry to the painful stories. Oh, I'm reminded much of what my father would say. He often would say, it's not what is taught, but what is caught. One, I like it because it rhymes, and it's nice and simple for me. But we kind of learn this way, don't we? We kind of catch a lot of life. We catch a lot from our care providers. We catch how to love. We catch how not to love. We catch how to argue, how to resolve conflict. We observe a lot in our care providers and in our relationships with them. How to view love, how to receive love, how to give love. Each and every one of us catch quite a bit from those who we are shaped and formed by. As we hear the scripture this morning, maybe you'll see what you can catch from the scriptures. So if you got your swords with you today, we're going to open up to the Gospel of John. John chapter 15, 9 through 17. John chapter 15, 9 through 17 goes as follows. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have spoken these things to you so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. This is my command, love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, than someone who would lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I do not call you slaves anymore, because a slave doesn't know what his master is doing. I have called you friends because I have made known to you everything I've heard from my Father. Verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you. I appointed you that you should go out and produce fruit, and that your fruit should remain. So whatever you ask in the Father in my name, he will give you. This is what I command you. Love one another. Well, the Gospel of John is different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are known as those synoptic Gospels. The Gospels that have similar stories and similar themes. But the Gospel of John is different. It's kind of set apart. In fact, the Gospel of John is talked about how it emphasizes on theology, the study of God, on the emphasis on Jesus' identity. John omits some of these stories that the other synoptic Gospels have. You know, the Gospel of John is broken up into two sections. The first 13 chapters known as the Book of Signs, a lot of miracles. And the second half is known as the Book of Glory. The Gospel of John doesn't mention Jesus' birth, the virginity of Mary, Jesus' temptation in the wilderness, the baptism of Jesus by John the Baptist. Less miracles are performed. The twist with the miracles is no longer are the miracles on an individual basis, but they're now in front of the people. More for the community, demonstrated in the public. The miracles of changing water to wine, John chapter 2. Healing the royal official's son in John chapter 4. Healed the paralyzed man at the pool of Bethesda, John chapter 5. Healing the 5,000 and walking on the water in John chapter 6. Healing the man that was born blind in chapter 9. And raising Lazarus from the dead, chapter 11. These miracles went from an individual now to a group. So all could participate, for all could be part of the miracle and who Jesus was and who is Jesus. Jesus wanted to be inclusive, inviting all to be part of the miracles, for all to participate in the possibilities of what God had for each individual. Jesus' method of teaching in John, it's not in parables, but it starts to emphasize the immediate arrival of the kingdom of heaven and talks about the emphasis of Jesus being the messenger. Well, the second half of the book of John is the book of glory. I kind of like saying that anyway. The glory just reminds me of so many things, but the glory itself is a reminder of God's presence. You've probably seen this through the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures quite often. When the pillar of cloud would go through the day, lead the Israelites, and then at night it was a pillar of fire. And in Moses' time, when Moses was speaking to God, you had the cloud that came around the tent, the presence that came around. When you get to John chapter 15, there's many phrases that jump out at us. Often is the case that many of us hear different phrases. It's always kind of funny, you may preach and you go to the pastor and you say, "Pastor, I really enjoyed such and such you said." I'm sure the pastor kind of goes home and talks to her husband, and I didn't say any of that. It's amazing what we catch sometimes. But we all catch different things to what is being said. But if one dissects the Gospel of John, there will be a word that jumps off the pages over and over and over again. Love. Love is mentioned, declared, and emphasized 57 times. That's a lot. I got a lot of German in me, so I'm a little hard-headed. And sometimes I don't always get it the first time through. No amens. Okay, I'm the only one. Okay, I got it. Well, Deanna can say to me over and over again, "Ben, this and this and this." I'm stubborn. Then somebody else will come up to me and they'll say the exact same thing. And I'm like, "You know what, sweetheart? I need to start changing this and this. I know I've been telling you this for years." Well, the Gospel of John, he gives us these continual reminders of love. He keeps us on our toes. That love leads to joy. Love leads to joy. In verse 9, John describes love that is reciprocal, that's mutual, that is transformational. In our society, we live in a society that it's, "What have you done for me lately?" "I love you, but with strings attached." Or alternative motives. But Jesus says, "As God has loved me, I love you." Boy, right there is powerful, isn't it? That God loves you, and God loves me. Even all our imperfections and our downfalls and our mistakes. There's many attributes given to God. Some of those are sovereignty of God, all-powerful, all-knowing, a just God, a jealous God. But out of all the attributes, may I suggest that the number one is love. It is from the flow of love that all the other attributes flow from. Jesus is articulating this love, that as God has loved Jesus, Jesus has loved us, we share this love with other people. To abide in Jesus means to be present, continual, a sojourner. In order for you and I to abide in God's love, we must be in relationship with Jesus. Jesus' love asks us to welcome and entertain people who are in our sphere of influence. To bring them in, talk with them, fellowship with them. How are we loving each other lately? Have we been so caught up in the day-to-day grind that listening, asking inquisitive questions have taken a backseat to our daily routine? Verse 10 says this, "If you keep my commandments, if you pay attention to the charge I am prescribing, you will abide in my love." You know, at first glance, I don't like this. I don't like being told what to do. I'm a firstborn. I like to do my own thing. I know, thank you. I know there's another firstborn in here. That's right. But what Jesus is saying here is not so much like a commanding officer, like in the military, an officer would tell me what to do, where to go, and how to do it. It is more of a structure, a way of loving us. Those rules, they're important. I mean, I grew up in those strict rules. We do this, we don't do this. Sometimes in the church, it was more about what I couldn't do than what I could do. What in the world can I do? But these are a way of structure, a way of providing love. You know, I had a friend growing up, Scott Trotter. Boy, his life looked a lot different than my life. I had to do this and not do this. I had to be home at a certain time, and boy, it was a little different over there. He could kind of come and go as he pleased. And it was kind of nice. It was kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed that. But the structure of love continues to allow that love to flow. That structure and boundary there allows the flow of love. I mentioned last week I was a children's pastor out in Cameron, Missouri, and we started out there with that old Cadillac limo. Picked up kids and started going kind of well, and then things started to grow a little bit. Then we had to get a 15-passenger van, and that was kind of nice too. It's kind of funny because I was a bus driver at the time, so I knew how to do these routes, and so I got routes and got volunteers and started picking up all these kids. It was great. Well, some of the church people enjoy that, and some of them didn't, because they'd run on in and throw their coats on the floor, and they didn't hang up their coats, and they didn't do different things. But one of the things that I found with these kids, they didn't have a lot of structure at home. And so as I organized their curriculum and brought things together for them, we gave them a structure, something to look forward to, a way of love, a way of boundaries. And they're able to grow in their capacity of love. At times we may feel that religion itself can put a placehold and withhold us from life. But having boundaries is a good thing. I don't necessarily enjoy discipline in my children. But we need to understand what is all right, what is inappropriate. The commandments Jesus gives is simply love. To love and to love other people. Verse 11, Jesus says, all these things that joy may enter and come alive in us. I think many of us have joy in our lives, but sometimes there's a confusion between joy and happiness. You know, as I mentioned, we went to Wisconsin Dells, and even in Kansas City, someone, oh yeah, I went to Oceans of Fun, but Worlds of Fun's got the Mamba. You know, a lot of ups and downs, and I like roller coasters. I don't mind them. But you have those ups and downs in life. Happiness kind of comes and goes with the ebb and flow of life. You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I wake up upset sometimes, ticked off. Sometimes I like a good fight. So Hannah and I get some good fights in. Deanna doesn't like it very much, but you know. Sometimes I wake up grumpy, sad, depressed. Our happiness kind of comes and goes, but joy is more about an attitude. Joy is more about a lifestyle. Joy is demonstrated by our attitude, speech, facial expressions, and how we treat each other. The flow of love that is generated from God to us leads to joy. Are we allowing the love of God to flow through us today? To flow through us that leads to joy. Do you have that joy today? Or are we allowing those obstacles or setbacks to get in our way of joy? The scriptures remind us that the important aspect of our journey is love. As God has loved Jesus, Jesus has loved us, we are supposed to love one another. This love looks toward the benefit of the other. The love is filled with humility, laying down our lives for those in our lives. It's laying down our wants, our needs, our desires. It is easy to say, it's easy to love ourselves and others and God when life is going well, right? But when we're in that trial, when we're in that time when life is not going well, it's hard to love other people when we're not at our best self. We're stressed. I enjoy hiking. Especially, I know we don't have any mountains here, but man, in Colorado, you got all these mountains and streams, and I like hiking in general. I really like to get up where those streams are at. And I feel like a little kid sometimes. I get up to the stream and I take these rocks and I start to kind of pile the rocks up in the stream. Try to kind of dam it up a little bit. Sometimes in life, we have these little things, setbacks, heartaches, trials, these rocks that kind of dam up our view of love, that stops the flow of love. As believers, if we can catch these moments when it starts to stop up the flow of love, if we can catch these moments, then we can do something about it. We can do something about it. Last summer I deployed, and as a chaplain I have somebody on my right-hand side, a religious affairs airman, and so we started out in Qatar in the Middle East, and boy, that was a big, big team. Both of us were struggling. So we had the opportunity to forward deploy to a smaller little base, which was nice, in Saudi Arabia. He was 10 years older than I was, but man, he was an avid runner. And so we would go out and we'd run the perimeter line every morning. It was kind of nice, because when we went out in the afternoons and did our visitation, later in the morning when we did our visitation, they said, "Oh, you guys are those runners." Yeah. Well, one particular morning, so we had Army there, we had Air Force there, we had Marines there, and I saw this guy, this Army guy. He was a little bit heavier than I was. And I said, "Oh my goodness, how in the world is he ever going to pass that fit to fight?" You got to do a physical exam every year, push-ups and sit-ups and 1.5 miles, but he's out there struggling, he's out there trying. But in my mind, I had a lot of judgment towards him. What in the world is he doing? Why is he in the military? How is he going to pass this thing? Well, we came around the second loop around, and I saw him again. And I tell you what, I was convicted of my sin of judgment. Started praying for this individual. Encouragement, strength. He's out there trying, just like my son said, "Dad, I'm trying. I'm trying." But it is in these moments, if we can catch ourselves in our own humanity, we can deepen that awareness and the flow of love to come in greater capacity. Well, love leads to joy. Verse 15, "I no longer call you servants or slaves, but I call you friends, because friends know what's going on." I don't know about you, but I don't like being blindsided. That's one of my pet peeves. I don't like being blindsided. In the military, I've supervised many, many, many people. And I often say, Do not blindside me. Still happens. I like to be in the know as much as possible. Maybe it's my own control issues, I don't know. But we are in the know. We are on the team. Trust comes with friends. Sometimes I struggle with that trust. It takes a while for me to open up, to trust, to see the authenticity in someone else, and to have that deep friendship where we can really be honest with each other. Verse 15 continues to say, you're not my servant, but you are my friend. The relationship with God is one of mutual respect, one that is reciprocal, one that is give and take. God invites us into this relationship, not keeping secrets from us, not withholding information, not playing games, but God has our best interests in mind. Well, verse 16 is probably one of my favorite verses, John 15:16. I love that verse. I'll never forget. I can remember where I read it the first time. There at Hy-Vee grocery store. That's where I was working. I was on my break. I like that. We did not choose life, but God has given us life. We are chosen. We are chosen people. We are chosen to partner with God to live a life of love that leads to joy. Each of us are chosen to what? To go and bear fruit. Fruit that will die? No. Fruit that will last. I believe this is where our purpose takes root. Realizing that we are chosen by God. At times it's difficult to determine our purpose. I've talked with many, many people in life that struggle. What is my purpose? What is my calling? Rick Warren even wrote a book about this years ago, The Purpose-Driven Life. Purpose can be challenging to find and fully understand. It is my belief that each and every one of us has a purpose. That each and every one of us have a calling in life. That calling may be working at your same job 20, 30, 40 years. That calling may be edging towards retirement, looking for the next missions, next ministry opportunity. Where is God calling you? Howard Thurman has a famous quote that I really enjoy. It really has to do with our calling. He says this, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go and do it. Because what the world needs is people who come alive. Are you coming alive today? Has God been revealing your calling to you in your life? Well, as the worship team comes up and is going to play a little chorus and a bridge, and may this be a time for you to reflect, a time for you to pause on what God has been revealing to you in your life. That calling may look different than the calling for me in the military and the hospital, but each and every one of us has a call and a purpose.